Hello, Durudin Shalom. How's my audio? Don't forget to like the stream. Guys, this whole topic of Epstein and Trump and these files are not going away. And every day it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's just basically consuming a whole bunch of like a major part of political news in the United States. Everybody, I thought like we reached a peak a couple of weeks ago, but I was wrong. Apparently there is, and given how much they releasing the files like slowly, it just seems like we're going to be dealing with this for a very long time. Also, they just came out and said they found another million files. So yeah, and given how much this has been a fuel for Jew haters and anti-Israelis, and how much it's uniting the far left and far right to against the establishment. This is going to have a major impact for the whole planet. These Epstein files, and I think like a huge portion of it could be just conspiracy theories. But I don't know. Let's actually go through the evidence and figure out what the hell is happening. I would like to know if you go. I see Jewish Samantha and Amir is here. Fantastic, guys. Thank you guys for being here. I want to know if you guys actually believe if Trump has anything like did Trump abuse. Do you guys think Trump abused children and he's trying to hide it? And I want to see how many people. I put a poll there to see how many people believe that Israel was involved. I don't think that, but I want to see what other people think. So let's just actually go right to this.
Well, December 19th, 2025 was the day that the Epstein files were supposed to be released, all of them, but instead we got a tiny fraction of what was legally required in what I would describe as the most shameless cover-up in American history. I'm not going to rehash everything because the video would be like 5 hours long. I have a whole playlist linked down below. Everybody's welcome to watch that. But after repeated attempts at delaying or undermining the Epstein Files Transparency Act, efforts that were ultimately unsuccessful, the current Department of Justice and FBI administrations have decided that yes, they'll release some of the files, but no, they will not abide by the law, and they will instead execute a completely indefensible, obvious, and shameful cover up. I'm going to try to make this video as streamlined as possible. This right here is the actual Epstein Files Transparency Act, which is relatively short and rather concise. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the essential component is that this document outlines an extremely limited scope of redactions, and even if those redactions are justified, they have to be explained to Congress and cut down as much as possible. No later than 30 days after this law was enacted, the files were supposed to be released. That day was December 19th, 2025, and yet December 19th has come and gone with only a tiny, minuscule fraction of the content coming out, and what they did reveal wasn't even actually revealed.
Okay, I don't understand. Like, doesn't it the way it works? Anybody who understands how the laws work, if you had a previous law before this law that says that you cannot just put this information out there, and if it's going to cause a whole bunch of people who are not guilty harm, then wouldn't this law, if it violates previously established laws, don't you? Can't you ignore some parts of it because you're violating some other laws if you just put all the information out there?
For the most part. There's a playbook here, okay? A tried and true, multi stage, consistently reinforced playbook where the administration takes existing public and previously unredacted information, blacks out a bunch of the text, and then shows it to the world as if they're doing something totally transparent or new, something that no previous administration ever came close to, as they like to say. It's embarrassing. And yet, even on December 19th, after an official law had been put on the books by Congress and begrudgingly signed by the president, because make no mistake, Trump fought tooth and nail against this bill every step of the way, right up until the point where he politically lost the battle and tried to save face by pretending he was always for it. Even after all of that, the DOJ has done the very same thing again. Just to once again hammer the point home, okay, I want to read a segment from the U.S. Department of Justice Office of Public Affairs in the Epstein Files fact sheet, which says, quote, "What is being redacted? The Department of Justice is committed to transparency and redacting only what is legally required. The department is required by law to redact identifying information about the victims, minors, or potential victims, as well as privileged material. No redactions have been or will be made to protect famous individuals or politically exposed persons," end quote. The spirit and the letter of the law is abundantly clear. And yet, if you look at the actual document release itself, What they have done is the furthest possible thing from it. These right here are three entirely separate sequential documents, 6109, 6209, and 6309, totaling well over 250 pages, which have been completely redacted with not a single word visible across them. And that's even before we talk about the 119-page grand jury indictment.
Why would they even put this out there? Just like, if it's all black pages, like, what's the point of putting it out there? Like, what's the difference between putting this out there and not putting anything out?
Which is also blacked out completely, despite a December 10th court order by a federal judge that the grand jury records be made public. What we got legitimately on December 19th, that is, what happened over subsequent days is my next point to make. That's like the next section of the video. What we got on December 19th violated the law, period. All right.
Well, what about the previous laws that it would have been violated if they put all of this out there and you had a whole bunch of people becoming the victims of these files being out there, even if they weren't guilty? Like, aren't you supposed to prioritize the previous laws?
The Trump administration once again obfuscated records, held back important information, and dodged the Epstein issue. But when tens of millions of people are scrutinizing all of your actions, when you've lost the support of Congress on the issue, even when that congressional body is majority controlled by your own party, and when the appointed leaders of your agencies are so relentlessly incompetent, as is true with the current administration, getting away with a cover up this lazy and obvious becomes pretty much impossible. One day after the concrete deadline, perhaps as a result of overwhelming pressure, perhaps as a result of professional failure, not entirely sure, but regardless, one day after the precise deadline, then we get the grand jury documents. Still redacted, but at least fundamentally readable now. And yet, that's not the only thing that they chose to do. See, on December 19th, they made 4 different document sets public and allowed them to be downloaded, which people obviously did. I myself got them, I think, like 19 minutes after they went up. Hundreds of thousands of eyes began combing through all of these documents, many of them specifically seeking mention of Donald Trump, obviously, and yet there was basically nothing. Here and there, sure, a passing mention, but then people realized that 19 files had been removed after the fact. 164, 165, 167, 229, 384
Whoa, what are these files? What the
mention.
hell?
But then
Why release the files and then remove them? Doesn't that make it all look a lot more suspicious once you remove them? I mean, if it's out there, it's too late. Just leave it there.
people realized that 19 files had been removed after the fact.
What is this stuff? Look at these pictures on the walls. This place looks kind of like, what is it? What is the picture? I want to see the
164, 165, 167, 2.
What is that? Guy, is that an underage picture of an underage girl? What the? Okay.
229, 384, 468, 656,
These places, they look kind of demonic.
657, 1051, 1052, 1053, 1055, 1056, 1124, 1423, 1424, and then batch 1 LFP, DII, and LST, which are the text files that contain a complete list of the files in that batch. Most of these were photographs that include specific naked or suggestive paintings, all right?
Yeah, this is a weird place.
However, tucked away inside that batch of deleted
This one is the weirdest one. That looks kind of messed up.
files, people found this one.
Oh, okay, guys, this is the file everyone is talking about. They released this file and then they removed it. So it's kind of weird because none of the files that they have released has Trump in them, except this one. I think is that Trump right there? Yeah, look at that. You see about that there? This is Trump right here. So
68. It's a photo.
What's the file name? Hold on.
Files. People found this one. 468. It's a photo of a desk, and then inside the open drawer of that desk is another photo, this time of Donald Trump and 4 unknown young women. Confusingly, it seems like his crotch in that photo has been.
Oh, is this okay? Oh my God, it's not the one above, it's the one below. Because we've already seen that picture above here. It's this picture down here that we have never seen. Is Trump is here, and there's 4 young women over here, But why has he been? Look at this. The photo has been cut. Why has the photo been cut? You see this M-like shape here? Wait,
cut
what the
out of
fuck?
it. Unknown young women. Confusingly, it seems like his crotch in that photo has been cut out of it.
Why would his crotch be cropped out? There's a photo in the desk with Trump with 4 young women, and they have cut his crotch like it's just like with a scissor. What was here that they had to cut it? What the hell? This is so bizarre. Why would they cut the photo like that? I'm so confused.
But whatever the reason may be, social media users immediately latched onto it because it's not a photo that we've seen before publicly. Speculation began, opinions swirled, but then
Yeah, Musad is in the chat is saying this is from the beauty competition. Yeah, but this is a photo that we have never seen before. This is a new photo. Like this has never been seen anywhere else. Also, it's weird that they would cut out his, the bottom part of where Trump is. Like, why would they do that?
a photo that we've seen before publicly.
By the way, Musad is the name of or somebody is like our, one of our Musad in the chat. Like it's just a username. Musad, every time I refer to you, people think I'm talking to my handlers or something. Like I say, oh, Musad is telling me this. People are like, oh my God, Armin is in touch with Musad. Guys, it's just the username of my friend in the chat. Okay. His username is Musad. Okay. Okay. I'm not talking. It's not the actual Musad is not giving me information in my ear. Okay. So that's not what's happening. I'm just reading the chat.
Speculation began, opinions swirled, but then gone. The photo disappeared alongside the others from the public database, as you can see in an archive right here. File 468 is now gone, and people justifiably went berserk. It's a bit difficult to cover the topic all in one sitting because there's a
Why would they remove it? Like, who's doing this? Like, what is the point of removing it? People have already seen it. They took screenshots of already the file being there and they downloaded the image. Like, isn't it like, oh my God, we released this picture by mistake, let's remove it? That's going to make it even more suspicious. Like, who's paying these people? I don't understand. Like, somebody please explain this to me. Who's paying these people? That is so obvious. When it's on the internet, you cannot remove it from the internet.
the existing knowledge base that you kind of need to have in order to fully understand, I guess. But the short version is that we know from FOIA requests, right, documents made public by the FBI, that they had something like 1,000 agents working almost $1 million worth of overtime, thousands and thousands of hours, specifically to redact Donald Trump from the files. And now one of the only tidbits of information relating to him in particular had been blatantly scrubbed as well, even so far as the raw text file lists from that specific batch and that specific batch only. Looking at this objectively, it is a complete and total failure.
Hold on. Holy shit. One more time? That's crazy. What?
It's working almost $1 million worth of overtime, thousands and thousands of hours, specifically to redact Donald Trump from the files. And now one of the only tidbits of information relating to him in particular had.
If that, guys, I don't know. Okay. I'm not anti Trump. I'm not pro Trump. But if they're actually, their criteria for removing files is based on whether or not Trump is being covered and not based on protecting the victims or protecting innocent people, then, like he needs to be impeached. Like, this is insane. Like, any retraction should only be based on protecting the victims or protecting innocent people. If the criteria, if they're paying, these people, your tax dollars, apparently millions of your tax dollars, to people to remove information based on whether or not Trump is in there. Like, first of all, obviously, like, I don't even know how they think they could hide this forever. The fact that they're doing that is going to make people even more suspicious, not less suspicious, and everybody can see that that's happening. And this is a crime. Like, I don't know, even if you're a pro Trump, you have to admit that if this is what he's doing, impeachment should be the least that happens to him. Do you guys agree with me on this in the chat?
Been blatantly scrubbed as well, even so far as the raw text file lists from that specific batch and that specific batch only. Looking at this objectively, it is a complete and total failure. They missed the legal deadline, obviously.
Yeah, somebody's saying they legally have to remove it. They have to remove only the parts that could get the victims or innocent people in charge, or could obstruct somehow ongoing investigations. Not the criteria shouldn't be protecting Trump.
They published a tiny fraction of what's actually required. Most of the files have not been made public yet, or possibly ever. We don't know what they'll delete or why or when. They heavily redacted almost everything, flagrantly violating the law and their own public statements, and then openly, right in front of everyone's faces, pulled down one of the only fragments or tidbits that showed Donald Trump in a photo of a photo in a desk drawer. That's about as on the nose as you can possibly get. Let me ask a question though. What's the only thing they could realistically do to make it even worse after the fact? What's the only move they have left, which would make it even more obvious how badly they're trying to get away with an incompetent cover up? Yes, that is correct. Once they get caught pulling the image down, despite absolutely no legal or justifiable reason to do so in the first place whatsoever, once they get caught taking it down, you put it back up again and pretend, oops.
No. Did they put it back up again? Please tell me they didn't
Just
do
an
that.
innocent mistake, because way too many people noticed what they did.
Oh my god.
That is exactly what happened. The file is now back. 468 is visible in the first data set again. But that doesn't
my
change the fact
God.
that we watched them panic, pull files, and the corresponding index lists as well. That's the incriminating part, in my opinion, only to then put them back up when the entire world reacted and said, "We just watched you do that. What the fuck are you doing?" But there's a worse problem. Even if you take everything that the current administration says at face value, which you can't, obviously, but even if you did do that, the standing deflection of "we're just protecting the victims" falls apart immediately. The narrative they want you to believe is that all of these heavy handed redactions, as in hundreds and hundreds of pages fully blacked out, only pertain to victim private information. But here, you can see a photograph of Bill Clinton and Michael Jackson with 3 redacted children. Just to be clear, Bill Clinton is heavily, heavily featured in a lot of these files and pictures.
It really looks bad. I don't know what the truth is, but it kind of looks like, oh, let's protect Trump and let's make Bill Clinton the main guy that everybody is going to focus on. Like, it looks like very engineered. Again, I don't know what the hell is happening, but it does look like that. Do you agree?
And I think that's the entire point, by the way. We need to remember that this is a tiny, minuscule, and extremely curated sample of the Epstein files that have been handpicked by the current DOJ for release. Of course, they feature Bill Clinton front and center. And just to be clear, that doesn't make him innocent. If there's any evidence whatsoever, I say lock him up for life. But they chose these files. So naturally, I think it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. Naturally, they would heavily feature political enemies. Anyway, this photo of Bill Clinton, Diana Ross, and Michael Jackson isn't actually from the Epstein files. It's a public photo from a fundraiser a long time ago with Ross Jackson and their own children. Yet,
then why are they mixed? I don't understand. Then why is it mixed with the Epstein files? Then why the fuck is this mixed with the Epstein files? What?
Public photo from a fundraiser a long time ago with Ross Jackson and their own children. Yet, the DOJ has included this and then redacted these children as if they were Epstein victims.
What? Why? This is already a publicly available image with these children's pictures available for something that has nothing to do with Epstein, and they mixed this file with the Epstein files and redacted the face of the children to make it seem like these were some of the victims on Epstein Island. And did they not think that people will go find the original source of these images? Like, who's doing this? How are they getting paid millions of dollars to do this? Like, is this not obvious that this is not going? What kind of a conspiracy is this? It's obviously not going to work. Guys, this is why I don't believe in other people's conspiracy theories, because governments suck at conspiracies. Like, there is no way that the Jews or Illuminati or lizard people are doing the shit that other people say they are, because every time the powers that be actually try to hide something, they're this bad at it. Did they really think that hiding, like this image, hiding the children, like nobody is going to go and reverse image search this and figure out where this actually came from? The governments are shit at keeping things hidden. This is why none of the conspiracy theories make sense.
Photo from a fundraiser a long time ago with Ross Jackson and their own children.
Who thought this would be a good idea? I don't understand. Who thought that they could get away with this? Can somebody help me understand?
Yet the DOJ has included this and then redacted these children as if they were Epstein victims. No matter which way you look, it's total and complete incompetence, deception, or most likely a combination of both. According to Fox News directly, quote, the Justice Department redacted the names and identifiers of victims. Fox News Digital has learned that the same redaction standards were applied to politically exposed individuals and government officials, end quote. And whether or not you even believe that's true, it puts the largest conservative news network in.
Whoa. Wow. Okay. The Justice Department redacted the names and identifiers of victim. Okay. Fox News Digital has learned that the same redaction standards were applied to politically exposed individuals and government officials. What? You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do that. What the hell?
Victims. Fox News Digital has learned that the same redaction standards were applied to politically exposed individuals and government officials.
Well, I mean, actually, maybe you should if they're innocent and this might make them look guilty, then maybe they could sue you for damages. Maybe you can.
End quote. And whether or not you even
but again, that's not the official narrative coming from the White House.
And believe that's true, it puts the largest conservative news network in the nation and their credibility in direct contradiction of what the current conservative administration has been saying. This is not a good situation for anyone involved. Supposedly, there's articles of impeachment being drafted against Attorney General Pam Bondi right now. Congress would use.
I mean, guys, I think if any of this is remotely true, then Trump should be impeached for this. I don't know if it's true. Let me know what you think. Do you think that Trump is behind all of this and he's doing this on purpose? Like, let me know. I want to see what your opinion is.
Something called inherent contempt, which is a lot more difficult to get around in terms of pardons. But I honestly don't know if it has teeth to it. And even if it does, Pam Bondi is just a foot soldier. There's an entire political apparatus behind her that made this happen and used her to do it. And so without deep consequences for all of them, it's unlikely anything actually changes. A group of Epstein victims, actually in a joint statement right after the files were released, big air quotes around those words, openly condemned the entire thing because you can't have it both ways. You cannot simultaneously claim that Epstein never trafficked to other people, that there's no credible evidence of such whatsoever, and that if there were, you would immediately bring a case. But then at the very same time, expect people to believe that the Epstein case is such a hazard to national security that you have to black out hundreds and hundreds of consecutive pages fully and fight against the calls for public transparency like wild political animals.
Well, it might not be because those files show that Epstein was going beyond just abusing children himself. Maybe what they show is a whole bunch of politicians in being around where everything happened, and then if it comes out, I don't know, then it doesn't make them look good. I don't know what to believe anymore.
It cannot exist both ways. The entire thing is a circus of the darkest kind, so to speak. Just glancing at the now centralized Epstein Files hub, you immediately see that the first phase section is a bunch of previously available, further redacted info showing nothing that was given to those conservative puppet moron influencers for a photo op a while ago. The BOP footage is riddled with errors, inconsistencies, and shows people coming and going who shouldn't exist or supposedly weren't there, with jump cuts and questions about evidence photos, layout, and file integrity. Plus, we already had all of that. The Maxwell Proffer segment is probably the worst part because it's just a transcript of her repeatedly lying, contradicting evidence photos, and then getting sent to a cushy facility with special treatment, despite being a twice perjured convicted sex criminal who doesn't actually qualify for that facility. She had to get a special waiver from the DOJ to be able to be sent there, which is insane. And lastly, the memoranda and correspondence section is all public shit we've seen before. Realistically, the only new documents in this whole thing are from Section 1, the Transparency Act, which they've now illegally flaunted and continue flaunting while redacting, deleting, or altering things in a way that should immediately result in prison time for a lot of people. That probably won't happen, but it should happen. Anyway, that's it. That's the current.
I don't know. I think we might see prison sentences after, if the Democrats get into power. I mean, are they going to, this is going to keep going on for a couple of years, isn't it? Like, this is going to be with us for a long time.
State of a shameful and continuing Epstein files cover up on display right now. It's probably going to go on for quite some time because they have so many hundreds of thousands of documents, and yet they're drip feeding them out with a whole bunch of redactions after violating the law and missing the deadline. So, I mean, it's just a continuing problem and just a total joke. I don't know. It's probably going to get worse in the coming days.
It's so crazy that the fate of the entire world and the influence that United States politics has on every country is being decided based on this one horrible guy and the files associated with his case. It's crazy. It's guys, the whole world is too reliant on American politics. Like, the rest of us non-Americans have nothing to do with any of this, and we don't even get a vote on any of this, but we're all impacted by it.
I'll continue talking about it when, notable things happen. But for now, if you want to support the channel, there's links down below. Special VPN
deal. Hold on. Let me actually show. Let me figure out. Let me see. Watch this one. Hold on. Let's watch this one. Hold on. There's a good review right here. Okay, let's do this one.
The FBI just accidentally released 11,000 Jeffrey Epstein files that they hadn't publicly put out yet, but we got access to them. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to access them. Here's what that looks like. It's volume 8 of the files, but you can see right now that they've only released 7 data sets. And so myself, the guys at Jmail, and the guys at DropSite, we've been investigating this. I've partnered with them to kind of look at some of these files. And they got access to volume 8 early. You would just type it in the URL. It wasn't like indexable on search, but you could just type in the specific URL and it would just come up. You could download the entire zip file, and that's what we did.
Who's managing these things? Like, I don't understand, guys. I used to work at a private equity, and, security when it comes to files, because you didn't want to give away information about companies that could impact, the valuations of the deal or stuff. Like, the amount of security that we had to go through so that things don't remain, people don't get access to things that they shouldn't get access to, was insane. And this was just a small private equity firm. How is it that the government of United States, with these people working there, getting paid millions of dollars apparently, are making such obvious mistakes? Like, I don't understand. Are these people not good at their job? Like, oopsie, if you just change the URL, you would get this file that you were not supposed to see.
But you could 8 early. You would just type it in the URL. It wasn't like indexable on search, but you could just type in the specific URL and it would just come up. You could download the entire zip file, and that's what we did. We've been looking through it. I want to go over some of it because I believe some of what we've seen directly contradicts the FBI's earlier statement that, there's no evidence, or we did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. That's what they told us, right? They said, we've already looked through the files. You don't need to see the files back in July. Of course, all the pressure has made them now start releasing some of this stuff. And we believe that this was slated for release, but remember, they weren't going to release all the files yet. They had to hold some back. Well, we believe that these 11,000 files are part of what they held back, because clearly they aren't out, and clearly they were ready, because a lot of these are redacted. I mean, already you can see we found several files that were, once again, over 100 pages of redacted information. So it was all ready to be released. It's unclear why it wasn't. But let me caveat before we get into the material that this is a breaking story, and as such, I'm sure there's going to be some pieces of information that we are interpreting or trying to interpret live. And because of that, I want to warn you to withhold your judgment on some of this stuff until we get more evidence. I'm sure the president's going to be asked about some of this stuff. I'm sure Todd Blanche, Pam Bondi, they're going to get asked about this because it is extremely damning, I think, what we see in some of this. Specifically, I want to draw your attention immediately to the 10 co-conspirators that are mentioned in some of these emails in 2019. Now, this is just alarming stuff, because prior to this, remember that all we really had was Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. That's the only people who have ever faced any charges at all. Ghislaine Maxwell, the only one who actually faced consequences, right? But in 2019, apparently there were 10 co-conspirators. Now,
What?
the people who were sending this to and from have been blacked out, but at the bottom we see that this is the violent crime section, crimes against human trafficking unit. And we can...
So, guys, this is what I assumed. I assumed there's actually no evidence for other people being involved in any of this, but apparently there were. Okay.
see that of the 10 co-conspirators, 3 have been located in Florida, served grand jury subpoenas, 1 in Boston, 1 in New York City, 1 in Connecticut were served. 4 out of the 10 are outstanding with attempts happening.
Who are these people? Like, why don't we know their names? Aren't they, if they're guilty, like, why are they, like, why are they being protected?
Having made. What is a wealthy businessman in Ohio? A lead is being sent to CV, and the remaining 3 are currently out of pocket. This is stunning stuff. Previously, we did not know how many co-conspirators were suspected of, or I'm not aware of anything like that. And additionally, some of the details on this are revealed later, because we see this subject line. It says co-conspirators at the top, and it says blank does not need to head out. We made contact with blank last night in New York City. Blank last night in New York. Contact was made with blank, blank, and blank. By the way, I love how these potential co-conspirators are people who are being blacked out. Like, why? I thought...
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, they're not the victims and they're not innocent. Why is their name not being released now?
The whole point of this was you couldn't redact people for personal information reasons or for public embarrassment. You could only redact on the basis of it being a victim. And I'm not sure how these people could possibly be victims here.
Epstein Files Transparency Act prohibits redactions, quote, on the basis of embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity. Has anything been redacted on that basis?
Absolutely, positively not.
But anyways, you can see that it says attempts were made to blank and Brunel. That's Jean-Luc Brunel, the famous who's now dead. Blank is confirmed to live in New York, was away for the holiday weekend. We did not have a good address, but an attempt was made in New York. Attempts are made to Maxwell today. Blank, you get it. Like, it's already all the people they suspected this whole time are redacted, of course. And they say, I do not know about Ohio contacting Wexner. Now, that's a reference to Les Wexner, the former CEO of Victoria's Secret. This is huge. We've long suspected that he was, of course, one of the co-conspirators. And obviously, the fact the FBI suspected it isn't a 100% proof confirmation. But clearly, they were serving grand jury subpoenas. I mean, that must be who they're talking about, one wealthy businessman in Ohio, because later it's confirmed by this whole idea of Ohio contacting Wexner. And you can see at the bottom, this is from the FBI New York. When you get a chance, give me an update on the status of the 10 co-conspirators. This is really bad to know that we knew as early as 2019 the right people to target, and yet our FBI, who's had evidence of this the entire time or leads on it, has declined to prosecute, right? Because this is what the FBI now tells us. Oh, don't bother. Don't worry about it. That's what they wanted us to believe in July. Fast forward to December, we find out there's 10 guys that they knew about since like 6 years ago. You know, it's insane. Even over here, we see that in one of the law.
But I mean, they told everything they said publicly was the opposite of this. Shouldn't these people go to jail for lying to the public?
Lawsuits, I believe this is with Maxwell, the government actually wanted to refer to people at trial as co-conspirators of the defendant, aka Maxwell, for the purposes of a rule. And then they say Jeffrey Epstein, and then there are 2 names listed there who are going to be listed as co-conspirators. Again, who are those people? We were told that the only co-conspirator now is Maxwell, and if you don't believe that, you're crazy, you're a conspiracy theorist. But back in 2020, this was a idea not just promulgated by wackos, it was promulgated by who? The FBI themselves, the Department of Justice. Look at this. Co-conspirator question transcript. This is from USA NYS. They say, question, when Jeffrey Epstein died, a lot of people asked, who's next? Is the government going to hold people who are accused of helping him recruit these girls? Are they going to hold them accountable? And then the answer is, well, I'll note that the original charges against Jeffrey Epstein contained a conspiracy charge, and we allege that there were conspirators involved. Jeffrey Epstein couldn't have done what he did without the assistance of others. And I can assure you that our investigation is moving forward, except I guess not. Against everyone except for Ghislaine Maxwell, it got killed. Like, Ghislaine Maxwell was the only one who faced justice, right? Except Then she got moved to Club Fed, to this nice prison, right? And by the way, that a whole interesting interview we saw happen with Todd Blanche, which is Trump's former defense lawyer. So he got grilled on
Who are they protecting? Like, I don't understand. Like, why are, like, obviously the public would want the government to just be extremely harsh against all of these people. So what is the motivation behind not doing that? Somebody explain this to me in the chat, please. I will read your chat.
meet the press about his relationship. Like, why did Ghislaine Maxwell go to this nicer prison immediately afterwards? And while he declines to comment on it, he says something very interesting.
Why was she moved just days after you interviewed her, Mr. Blanche?
So that's a Bureau of Prison Security issue that I will not talk about.
Did you have
But I think
anything
it's
to
fair
do with
say
it? Did
that
you
at
have
the
anything to do with it?
Let me finish. First of all, I am responsible for the Bureau of Prisons. So every decision that they make lands on my desk to the extent it needs to. But just let me talk about the security issue. At the time that I met Miss Maxwell, there was a tremendous amount of scrutiny and publicity towards her. And the institution she was in, she was suffering numerous threats against her life. So the BOP is not only responsible for putting people in jail and making sure they stay in jail, but also for their safety.
All right, so he's like, yeah, that's crazy. No, I'm not going to talk about that. But every decision lands on my desk. I mean, eventually he goes on to say that, oh, she was in so much danger. We were worried about her safety as a prisoner. I just got to say, there's a lot of concern about Ghislaine Maxwell. All of a sudden, I don't know where that came from. There's not a lot of concern about these conspirators that I guess we've swept under the rug, that we don't care about anymore since 2019. Guess we knew about them and didn't care. And what's even more concerning is our president.
I mean, now that we know there's 10 of them, obviously nobody is going to rest until we know their names.
Also seems concerned with the wrong people. Like, while Todd Blanche is concerned about Ghislaine Maxwell's safety and well-being, you've got Trump concerned about the people who are going to be unfairly implicated in the Jeffrey Epstein files, rather than worrying about how to catch the people that we obviously let go through the cracks.
The victims were protesting that too many of them were redacted.
I know there are a lot of people that are angry about all of the pictures of other people, but I think it's terrible. Look, I like Bill Clinton. I've always gotten along with Bill Clinton. I've been nice to him. He's been nice to me. We've always gotten along. Respect him. I hate to see photos come out of him, but this is what the Democrats, mostly Democrats, and a couple of bad Republicans are asking for. So they're giving their photos of me too. Everybody was friendly with this guy. I think it's a terrible thing. I think Bill Clinton's a big boy. He can handle it. But you probably have pictures being exposed of other people that innocently met Jeffrey Epstein years ago, many years ago.
Now, I'll be honest, he gets off track from here, but the point he was making is that those poor
He usually does. He usually does.
Poor innocent, bankers who are meeting with Epstein, the poor lawyers who are meeting with Epstein, like all of Epstein's friends are just caught up in this unfortunate thing. And it's just such a reversal of what previously the DOJ and FBI believed. In fact, they believed it so much that they got a federal search warrant for the SDNY, and they got it. And part of the seizable data, part of the stuff that they commanded them to seize as part of the search warrant, which, by the way, I think you need some kind of like standard of evidence for. I'm not a lawyer. You guys can chime in. But you can't just get a search warrant without some kind of evidence that you believe there's a crime that's been committed. And part of it says evidence concerning the identity or location of co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein, including blank and Ghislaine Maxwell. So again, who is blank? Well, they keep redacting the names of these co-conspirators, uncharged, remember, and now they're saying we have no evidence to charge anybody. Clearly, they had evidence for a search warrant, and it's just completely ridiculous that some of this stuff is redacted and that we're viewing the rich and powerful people who are mentioned as the victims here. Now, that's all I want to talk about for now. Remember, this is a developing story, so there's, I'm sure, going to be more evidence that comes out.
I am so confused. I don't even know what to think anymore. What do you guys think about this?
Try to keep you updated. I'm probably going to cover more of this stuff in the future because there's so much here. But I had to get this out while it was basically not public yet. I mean, I think it's eventually going to be public. When, we don't know. But you can access all of it at jmail.world. I'll leave a link in the description. They have a special drive section. The original pitch was it's like email, but you're logged in as Jeffrey Epstein. Now they've made it like the entire Google account, so you can log into his drive folder and all that kind of stuff. It's fun. It's a great UI, but more importantly, it makes it all very searchable and you can look at it. I think you'll all really enjoy it. I also wanted to give a special shout out to the Drop Site team. And finally, we just uploaded on CoffeeZilla. I don't like to upload the same day on both channels.
Wait, guys, this actually gets a lot more ridiculous. I cannot believe that
I was going to wait a bit longer.
I cannot believe that I'm even seeing this title. Are they that incompetent? Let's watch this one because this is fucking crazy.
I was going to wait a bit longer before drooling all over this topic just to see if anything would come from it since it's such a big deal. But I've now very much learned my lesson that there is never going to be anything that comes from anything Epstein related. That's basically how it seems. So I'm sure you've seen by now that with all of those redacted files that they've been farting out, you can actually unredact a lot of them yourself. And you don't even need it.
They can unredact it. Guys, they went on apparently Adobe and they put like something black on top of the words. They didn't know that other people could remove it. They didn't know people, instead of like removing the words and putting something black there, they just put something black on top of it, which is removable. Who is paying these people?
Double-digit IQ to do it. Here's a quick tutorial.
Look at this. Which
now that with all of those redacted files that they've been farting out, you
guys, this is why I know that there's the Illuminati conspiracy theory and the Zionists controlling the world is bullshit. If anybody is controlling the world, they probably would know that this is not how you hold back information. This is why I'm telling you guys, this is why all the conspiracy theories are a lie. Because this is your government trying to hide information. Holy shit.
You can actually unredact a lot of them yourself, and you don't even need a double-digit IQ to do it. Here's a quick tutorial that even a Neanderthal can follow along with.
Redacted. So you can go ahead and scroll down till you get to a redacted area. Here's a redacted area right here. Guess what? If you want to look at these files, all you got to do is copy it and paste it into Microsoft Word. And guess what?
No.
All the files are unredacted. There it is. So go back.
No way. I thought he's going to download a tool. I thought he's going to like insert a code. I thought he's going to use a feature. You just copy it and paste it to words and it shows. Are you fucking kidding me? Holy shit. Okay.
To justice.org, find all those files and start unredacting before they figure out how to stop you.
I've seen only a teensy tiny bit of media coverage on this, not a whole lot of buzz generated from the unredacting techniques here, but from the couple that I've seen, they say things like this: hackers unredact Epstein files. Hackers didn't do it. Your fucking grandpappy sitting down in front of his goddamn iPad could do it too. There's no hacking here. It's Control-C, Control-V. Holy shit. My God, he's like an elite XD hacksaw. Wow. Yeah, it really is that easy. You don't have to have a big brain like Jimmy Neutron for this here. And it doesn't work for all the files, but it works for a good portion of them. And what you will find when you unredact a lot of this is that they very clearly have not complied with the law. They are not following the rules of the redactions, which, mind you, are supposed to be reserved exclusively for victims and minors, that kind of thing. But when you unredact a lot of this information, you are finding information that is not related to a victim, a minor, anything like that at all. There are numerous examples of these improper redactions being applied to these files here. There are more examples of that than there are of me being short. You can find so fucking many. And it's kind of like a lot of crickets in mainstream journalism right now in regards to this unredaction technique a lot of people have employed on TikTok, and even like Asmongold has done it on stream as well. And what they're finding is, yeah, it is inarguable that these redactions are not following the rules. There's like this article here that's written about like the redactions on 184 through 192 that were describing taxes paid by companies incorporated by Epstein properties that were not on the balance sheet. And at the end, it even says it's unclear how property material complies with the redaction standard under the law. An inquiry to the Department of Justice has not yet been answered, and it probably won't be answered because the sad reality of it is law doesn't apply to people at a certain level of power.
I don't believe that. I don't think they're going to be able to get away with this. I think that they think they're going to be able to get away with this, but at the end of the day, I think most of this will come out. I mean, now that people see that this is not about protecting the victims, I think the parts that they don't want to have out will make it out. I actually think that in the United States, people can still force their government to do things that the government doesn't want to do.
The law is like simply here for plebeians, it seems. And it's not even subtle. Fucking goofball Kash Patel can go under oath and lie out of his ass out the wazoo till the cows come home with a straight face and a limp dick, talking about how they don't have any credible evidence that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked victims to anyone. So it's just Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell. That's it. If you believe anything else, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist. And now with these five.
Well, I mean, do we know still? I mean, I guess I'm willing to accept anything we see evidence for. Like, how do we know that we haven't still seen? I mean, we might see, but we haven't still seen anybody else abusing these children other than those two people. I mean, all of these other 10 people that were working with them, maybe that was just the people they paid to go find these children for them to abuse. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm ready to accept anything that we have evidence for, but still, so far, we haven't still seen any other evidence.
We have provable evidence that they at least knew of 10 other co-conspirators that apparently they just decided to throw in the garbage can and never pursue. But we have
those co-conspirators, like, how do we know that they weren't just working for Epstein to be able to abuse children himself?
So much evidence to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt he is lying, yet he won't face any perjury charges. He won't be arrested. He'll just keep fucking cruising podcasts like they're glory holes here about how he's doing such a good job and puffing up his chest and shit. None of these people that are just blatantly lying and breaking the law will ever be held accountable here. All of these improper redactions that don't comply with the law, don't comply with the rules here, everyone responsible will not face any repercussions. I'm so confident in this. It's fucking sickening. Nothing's going to happen. And it is so incredibly sad. And not only is nothing going to happen, nothing's going to happen and people are going to cheer for that too. I've already seen the narrative shift to like, who cares about the Epstein files and all these crazy mental gymnastics to downplay the significance of the biggest child sex trafficking operation in our country's history, where there are still unbelievable amounts of people that got away with these heinous crimes, still potentially in the highest levels of government, and people are just saying, like, doesn't matter. That's not the important stuff. And make no mistake, this wasn't some innocent whoopsie-daisy where they accidentally redacted information that they weren't supposed to, but they were trying their best to be super transparent and comply with the law. This was on purpose. It's by design. This is a cover-up. It's not a conspiracy. It's in front of your face. You can unredact the information yourself, and it doesn't take a lot of technical prowess to do so. You can confirm this yourself. They are trying to protect these pedophiles. They are running defense for...
I think they're just trying to protect Trump. I think that's all they're trying to do. Like, what do you guys think? I think the main agenda right now is to protect Trump. What do you guys think? I don't think this is about Israel. I don't think this is about a huge elite pedophile people in power. I think this is only about protecting Trump from accusations. What do you guys think?
Evil people that they have knowingly collected all this information on and decided to do nothing with for years. Not just this administration, the last administration too, obviously, but the point is, right now, they're still doing all they can to protect these people. That is unacceptable in a sane society. And anyone who writes that off is like, not.
Somebody in the chat saying you're lying. How am I lying? I'm giving you my opinion. You can say I'm wrong, but this is my opinion. It could be the wrong opinion, but I'm not lying. I'm just giving you my opinion.
Unacceptable in a sane society. And anyone who writes that off as like not a big deal is a fucking lunatic. Like beyond pathetic loser worm. Now, if you're wondering how this even happened with being able to unredact this yourself, is because so many people working in the government are just actually incompetent. I don't mean that like exaggeratory. I mean like they legitimately like diaper wetting, paint chip eating fucking idiots over there. So The likely explanation here is they used the highlighter tool to black out the information, but they didn't actually redact it. So when you copy and paste it, it's still there. They didn't even.
Guys, if this doesn't prove government inefficiency, I don't know what does. This is why I believe in privatizing shit. You guys want free healthcare, free education? They don't even know how to redact information for their own, for protecting them. If they can't protect themselves, you want them to protect your health? They can't protect your health. They cannot even protect their own ass. Look how inefficient the government, and they get paid shit ton of money from your taxes. This is the government. Oh my god.
Even actually redact it. That is how bad at their job.
Yeah, somebody in the chat saying this is embarrassing for the USA. Yeah, I know. No, okay, Musa is saying private companies are the same. I work for them. Well, I've worked for them as well, but the thing is that the ones who are like this in the private sector, at least they get punished for it by going bankrupt when somebody better comes along. That's why the private sector on average ends up doing better, because you actually get punished for sucking.
Still there. They didn't even actually redact it. That is how bad at their jobs they are. And I've seen a theory floating around that maybe this is on purpose from a whistleblower who was tasked with redacting information but wanted it to get into the hands of the American public. So they instead did like the highlighter tool as opposed to redacting it. And I'd be willing to motorboat those titties, play ball with that idea if we hadn't seen so many examples of just pure incompetence at the highest level. I truly just think it's clear that the people in these positions are just like actual fedora tipping Reddit twerps, like based on how they shitpost on Twitter and everything, and that they legit just can't do their jobs very well. Side note, anyone remember this little golden nugget where they literally rickrolled the Epstein files release, treating the most notorious, infamous child sex trafficker, as well as all of the information in regards to his clients and all of these evil crimes, as a joke? And you remember that? I think it's pretty evident that a lot of the people in these positions are actually just fucking dumb. So I'm not willing to believe that this was some kind of internal whistleblower trying to do the right thing. I just think that they are actually fucking lobotomites, just genuinely stupid, and didn't realize that blackout highlighter doesn't act.
Guys, okay, there's a contradictory positions that he's holding here, because if they're this dumb, then why do you think they're going to be competent enough to be able to keep this hidden forever? Like, obviously, if a system is so broken from the inside to not be able to actually do even, do a simple redaction properly, that means that if you give it enough pressure and give it enough time, eventually a lot of this is going to come out.
Actually redact the information. It's wild.
This is why I don't believe in the 9/11 conspiracy theories and the JFK conspiracy theories. You're telling me the government did all of those things and they managed to hide all of those so perfectly while they can't even redact a file on a PDF file? The same, and right now they're supposed to be better because technology have advanced and you learn from your mistakes. So the government of the United States cannot even hide some information on PDF, but they kept the assassination of JFK and them plotting 9/11 hidden for all, and the moon landing as well. Sure, moon landing was the government. It was all fake by the same people who cannot even hide some text on a PDF file. Sure.
Can't even do the simplest things correctly, like redact information. You can literally click like 2 buttons in order to do that. And they can't even figure that much out. They are knowingly making a conscious decision to violate the law here in regards to these Epstein file redactions. And even while doing that, they can't even figure out how to redact the information properly. Thus, they get caught with their pants down. They can't even do the cover-up correctly. And still, even though their whole ass is out, goat seed, on full display for everyone, every single human being on the planet that wants to download the files and unredact it themselves, they can see that they broke the law by redacting things that aren't minors and aren't victims. Even this being 100% confirmed will still probably not lead to a single person being fired or a single individual in a higher level of power here even facing some finger wagging. It's just that.
I don't know about that. I think the anger is so much and it's so apparent that they're hiding something that I think the pressure is eventually going to do its thing.
That bad right now. They can do anything they
I just don't think these, people are not going to be satisfied because what they expect is to see a whole bunch of powerful elites being handcuffed for child abuse. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think the information that we need to see at some point will come out, but I think it's going to be not what a lot of people are hoping to see.
want with complete immunity. And it's just so outrageous. It's infuriating. I had to yap about this a bit because I've...
Hold on, guys. We actually have new information. This is actually crazy. Hold on. It gets worse. It gets even worse. Hold on. So apparently they found 1 million more dogs. Again, when I say the word 1 million, I'm not just saying that to exaggerate. So everything we've been talking about, everything we talked about regarding the Epstein files, these were the files that we've been talking about for a couple of years here. But apparently, all of that aside, now separate from all of that, they just found I don't know where, 1 million more documents, 1 million more documents that are basically now part of the Epstein files. So, what? Let's watch this.
We have some breaking news to share with you. The Department of Justice says it has uncovered, and I'm quoting here, 1 million more documents potentially related.
What do you mean uncovered? Like, was that just sitting there in a file and they didn't notice it that it's there? They uncovered? Like, oops, guys, has anybody opened this folder? Is like really big in size. Can I delete this to make some room? Let's open it. Like, oh my God, we had 1 million more documents that we didn't go through. We just found them. Where did you find them? Where were they? Like, how do you just come across 1 million more documents? What the fuck?
We have some breaking news to share with you. The Department of Justice says it has uncovered, and I'm quoting here, 1 million more documents potentially related to the Jeffrey Epstein case. Caitlin Polance is here. Caitlin, with these documents, do we know if they're above and beyond all of the ones that they already have? And if so, what that's going to mean to the release?
Yeah, this is quite a Christmas news drop, Sarah. The Justice Department now revealing that they are still discovering files from Jeffrey Epstein and all of the different parts of the Justice Department that had files related to him in various investigations. In this statement, this was just out about 20 minutes ago, the Justice Department now says the Southern District of New York, so that's their prosecutor's office out of Manhattan, and the FBI have informed the Department of Justice they've uncovered over 1 million more documents potentially related to the Jeffrey Epstein.
By the way, the people who are working on this, do you think they actually have to go through CP to watch do you think the government agents that are paid to go through these, they're actually watching a lot of CP while doing their work?
In case the impact there, it means that the Department of Justice is going to be processing these before they can all be posted.
People are saying, of course they do. Oh, hell yeah, Armin, of course. What the hell? Man, that is a crazy job to have.
Transparently under the law for weeks. Here's a little bit more of the statement. We have lawyers working around the clock to review and make the legally required redactions to protect victims, and we will release the documents as soon as possible. Due to the mass volume of material, this process may take a few more weeks. This comes on the heels as well of yesterday, prosecutors in the Southern District of Florida, so in and around Miami, being asked to volunteer their time and jump on board the group that is already looking at these Epstein files. This email from leadership in the department said they needed volunteers. It was an emergency. They understood it was the holidays, but there are more documents than they have enough people to review.
They're looking for volunteers to come review the files. Like, guys, none of this information is going to remain hidden if this is what they have to do to review them.
Reviewing right now, they need more hands on deck. Sarah,
can't some people can't just people go volunteer? People who want to then come out and leak the information regarding what they saw.
This is going to feel.
Yeah, exactly. Musa saying nothing makes sense. What the? Yeah, exactly, guys. What the fuck? Like, guys, we have this secret information that we can't show anybody. Can you come volunteer and take a look at them?
all sorts of questions about how the DOJ has handled this, both the left and the right, both going after the DOJ. How does this all fit in with the law that has been put in place that the president signed, the Transparency Act as well? It requires that they had put these out way earlier altogether, and now here we are.
The requirement was that they would all have been released last Friday. That was the day for all of the files to become transparent that was mandated for the Justice Department. They did not meet that deadline. And there's another deadline upcoming, January 3rd. That is the day when the Department of Justice is going to have to tell Congress, here's everything we did to redact in these files and the reasons for those redactions. If they're not even through all of the documents by then, they're digging a hole that already is reaching a lot of people and getting a lot of public and political criticism for it. There are members of Congress calling for contempt for the Attorney General for not meeting the deadline, and others who want to go to court. It is not over. There are more files, and there will also be much more reaction as well. Sarah?
Yeah, and we could have...
Guys, we're going to be dealing with this for years. We're going to be going through this for years.
Some of the files, not the million they haven't gone through, but some of the files that they have gone through already put out in any moment now. In the next couple of days, we're expecting those as well. I know you will be all over it and working really hard through the holiday. So I thank you, Caitlin Polance, for joining us today with that breaking news.
The U.S. Justice Department says it has just discovered 1 million more documents that could potentially be related to the Jeffrey Epstein case. The department issued a statement saying lawyers are working around the clock to review these documents and make any legally required redactions, a process that it admits may take a few more weeks. Now, the deadline to release...
Somebody in the chat saying Candace Owens couldn't even invent this scenario. I know. This is something you would expect to see on a Candace Owens show, not on CNN.
All of the materials came and went last Friday. Reaction from the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee was swift. Congress...
Are bees involved? Yeah, the bees. I think, are there any Egyptian planes involved?
Robert Garcia released a statement that says the White House is openly engaged in a cover-up protecting Epstein's co-conspirators and the powerful men who abused women and girls. It's outrageous that the DOJ has illegally withheld over 1 million documents from the public. Now, to talk about all of this with us is our Kevin Lipdak. He's been following the president during this holiday season and joins us from West Palm Beach in Florida. I mean, Kevin, I just have to start with, I can't get my head around this. How can 1 million more documents be found? Where were they? And this is past deadline. Can you explain this to me?
Yeah, it is astounding. And what the Justice Department said is that they came from the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York. And this was the office that had been prosecuting Epstein. It was also prosecuting his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. And so what these documents seem to be from is those sort of proceedings that occurred when Jeffrey Epstein was still alive and when they were prosecuting Maxwell as well. But it's an astounding figure. And remember, we just heard on Sunday from Todd Blanche, who's the number 2 at the Justice Department, that even at that point, they still had 1 million documents to get through. They had, 200 lawyers pouring through them and redacting them. And so the task for the Justice Department, is clearly a monumental one. We got a little glimpse of that as well yesterday when we reported that there was a senior Justice Department official who emailed career prosecutors in Florida, in the Southern District of Florida, asking them to work through the holiday stretch on some of these redactions, sort of acknowledging that this was going to be an all hands on deck effort to try and get these documents redacted and released, well past now the deadline. And so that is what's underway here. But it all kind of, I think, builds to a picture here of a Justice Department really scrambling to get their arms around this. They did have 30 days from when Congress passed this law to the deadline, which occurred on Friday, to get all these documents out. when you talk to officials there, they say that that was just not nearly enough time to pour through the material that they had, and it has led to frustration, certainly in Congress.
Actually, it's good that they're under so much time pressure, because that means they're going to make so many mistakes, and a lot of the things that they don't want to have out will be out.
You hear talk from some of the lawmakers who co-sponsored this bill about potentially bringing Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, up for contempt. It's also led to a degree of frustration at the White House because they want this out. You know, they don't want this drip, drip, drip of documents and having to react to them every couple of days. And so it doesn't make anyone, I think, pleased at how this process has been going, Selma.
I want to talk a little bit more about the White House's position, because you just brought that up. You said they don't want this drip, drip, drip. But at the same time, when the last batch was released, we saw that the White House seemed to be downplaying it, even questioning the authenticity of some of the documents. What is President Trump's position going to be here going forward when you're talking about 1 million more documents, potentially 1 million that were already on the plate? How is he going to position himself on this?
Well, it seems like it depends on who's in the documents, doesn't it? Because on Friday, when the most interesting material related to Bill Clinton, you didn't hear anyone in the White House downplaying it. Instead, they sort of amplified it, sort of tweeting out photos of Bill Clinton in a hot tub. It was exactly the opposite when the most interesting material was about President Trump. And at that point, you saw the Justice Department do something quite extraordinary, which was to use their own social media accounts to kind of go to bat for him. And even in one case, which was the case of that sort of disgusting letter that was supposedly written from Jeffrey Epstein from prison, out and out say that it was false. And so the strategy seems to depend on who is actually in some of these documents. You know, there is, I think, a degree of frustration at the White House that this is all.
You know, it really does look like, I don't know if this is true or not, but it does look like they're just deciding which files to release based on who's going to be implicated.
Sort of obscuring what the president is doing. There are some corners of the White House who think that the Justice Department has whiffed all of this, to use the word that Susie Wiles used, the chief of staff, to describe how this has been playing out for the last several months. But I think when you talk to officials, they are very acutely aware that this is something they're going to have to keep dealing with.
Wait, actually, let's look at exactly
the Epstein file transparency.
Okay, let's actually look at the way that they were released and the law that made them release it. I want to see this because this is a good explanation here. That I think, like, if you're confused, I think this will actually make everything, put everything together and make sense of everything. So watch this one.
The Epstein file Transparency Day is here thanks to legislation which forced the government to finally release the Epstein files. Is it going to be Republicans, Democrats? Who was on that island? I gathered all the documents they released, but first we have a little word from Todd Blanche, our Deputy Attorney General.
So yes, so today is the 30 days where, and I expect that we're going to release several 100,000 documents today, and then over the next couple weeks, I expect several 100,000 more. There's a lot of eyes looking at these, and we want to make sure that when we do produce the materials we're producing, that we're protecting every single victim.
Wait, so turns out, first of all, the files that got released today, they aren't actually all the files, even though by law they should have been. So yeah, the first thing you need to know about these files is that they are not all the files. And we have no idea which ones they held back and are going to release later. And the second thing I want to tell you about are the redactions that are made. This is one of the most prominent things when you look at these files. You'll see there are a lot of just blacked out stuff. And look, sometimes that makes sense, right?
Yeah, so they told, like, this was the time where we thought that redactions was based on protecting innocent people, but until we saw that, no, apparently not. A few days after,
if you say, look, we are redacting a victim's face,
so we saw two things that shows that this was not about protecting the victims. First of all, the parts that they redacted, and if you copy and paste, you unredacted, you could see that that type of information was not something that you needed to redact to protect the victims, but also the image of Trump that they removed and then they put back also shows that it seems like their main agenda is to protect Trump.
Totally get that, and clearly that happened in some instances. You know, CSAM was not scanned. Totally get that. I'm all about that, and I actually agree with the government. However, remember that Jason Leopold reported that sometimes what they were calling the Epstein Transparency Project, they also were calling the Special Redaction Project, meaning some people did not like being in there. And you kind of see that reflected in some of the redaction choices because some of these redactions just don't seem to make sense. And this is what they've already released. Remember, there's files we just don't know about because they haven't actually released the full files yet. They've released some of them. But for example, the BBC reported that a judge ruled that Ghislaine Maxwell's grand jury records can be unsealed. So, all of us were wondering, okay, where are those? Well, they're redacted. Actually, 119 pages of some of these files were just like redacted fully. Like you couldn't see anything in these files. There's literally no details except it just says Grand Jury New York. And it's just like pages and pages.
By the way, guys, 67% of you have voted that Epstein was working for Israel. Can you let me know in the chat? Like nearly 70% of you who are watching this think Israel was responsible and Epstein was working for Israel. Can you let me know where you're getting this information from? Like, what makes you think that? Because I haven't seen anything that demonstrates that. I'm very curious to know if you believe that, where you're getting that from.
Of redaction. I mean, you can't see anything. This is part of the Transparency Day.
Look at the poll. Look at the poll. Like, please participate in the poll. So far, 876 people have voted. So the question was Epstein working for Israel? And I put that on top of the live chat an hour ago. And in 1 hour, well, now nearly 900 people have voted. And 67% have said yes. 33% have said no. Like, what are you guys saying that the rest of us are not saying? Like, share your evidence with us, please. I don't understand where you're getting this from.
Transparency Act. So that is a weird look, but other redactions are also really strange. For example, we have this message among the documents where it seems to be Jeffrey Epstein getting a message that says, I have a female for him. It's like a note. Somebody left him a note and they say, please call.
What the hell? What is this code? Like, what is this? Hold on. What is this weird nose?
The Transparency Day, Transparency Act. So that is a weird look, but other redactions are also really strange. For example, we have this message among the documents where it seems to be Jeffrey Epstein getting a message that says, I have a female for him. It's like a note. So
I have a female for him. Holy shit. Okay.
Somebody left him a note. And they say,
why is this so out in the open? Like, aren't you supposed to be using code words? Like, aren't you supposed, like, why would you, if this means what I think it is, why would you, like, if I was involved in such crimes, I would never leave physical information, physical evidence like this for anybody to ever discover. Holy shit. Like, why would you write that on a piece of paper?
Please call, I can't tell if that's her or him, but twice he gets a message, and both times it's a message that says, I have a female for him, but they redact the person who called, which kind of doesn't make sense. Like, isn't that someone you should...
Oh, Carl is saying they felt invincible and untouchable. Well, okay, that's retarded.
Be investigating? It's, how is that a...
I mean, not you, Carl, them.
Which kind of doesn't make sense. Like, isn't that someone you should be investigating? It's, how is that a victim? Maybe there's context that we're missing, but I want to remind you guys that there was supposed to be an explanation for even why they were making certain redactions, and they didn't. Here's one of our legislators talking about that.
And our law requires them to explain redactions. There's not a single explanation for why that entire document was redacted.
So yeah, already Transparency Day was looking a bit shaky. But let me just say, there are some things worth looking at. So one of the big things that was interesting is that Bill Clinton was heavily featured in this whole thing.
It seemed like their criteria for what to release is that if Bill Clinton is in there, then it's an automatic yes. I think that was their main criteria. Just show as much as Bill Clinton as possible. You know, the way I imagine it, I think like the people like Trump is sitting behind, like in front, like next to a whole bunch of people in a room, and they say, like, guys, if we just release so much of Bill Clinton, maybe we could distract people by making them go after Bill Clinton, and they will stop talking about me. I honestly think that's what happened. I'm like, guys, let's just release so much of Bill Clinton that everybody will just focus on going after him, and they will stop going after me. That's what I think was happened.
That was interesting is that Bill Clinton was heavily featured.
It's interesting that it seemed like nobody gives a shit about Bill Clinton anymore, like being in these pictures, because they were like, why are you showing us Bill Clinton? You know, it's interesting because it seemed like so many people just assumed that Bill Clinton is just such a, you know, I don't even know if I could say it on YouTube, but people are like, yeah, we already knew this about Bill. Okay, don't try to distract us. Where's the other files
in this whole thing? There's Bill in the hot tub with some a lady that is redacted, and Ghislaine Maxwell. This appears to be on one of his trips early on. I think it's pretty obvious why Billy.
Oh my God, look at this.
Appears to be on one of his trips early on. I think it's.
Look at that. Okay, Bill.
Pretty obvious why Billy Boy is so prominently featured. Like, he's obviously was associated with Jeffrey Epstein. He's a big name. He's kind of a scalp, if you will, and it gives the public something to think about. And the White House was trying to seize on that, obviously. Bill Clinton just chilling without a care in the world. Little did he know. And you have Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, saying, oh my. But ultimately, this leaves a giant.
Look at this. They're trying. Oh my. They're trying to like, oh, guys, let's go after Bill Clinton, huh? Let's go after him. Okay.
And you have Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, saying, oh my. But ultimately, this leaves a giant elephant in the room for them that still doesn't make sense, which is this. Like, you guys don't care about Bill Clinton. Why haven't these files been released before? Like, why has there been such a cover-up of the Epstein files if Bill was the only guy in it? Right? Because let me spoil the surprise, because while Billy Boy is featured multiple times with multiple women on the plane and hot tubs, Trump is barely featured at all. The only pictures of Trump are some desk photos. He's not even in the picture. It's just thin. There's basically nothing relating to Trump.
Oh, I've got a super chat. Soro is saying, hold on, where's the super chat? Saying, don't be surprised. This is a 10+ year case. Yeah, and I think it's going to be 10, more than like another 10 years. We're going to be dealing with this. I think we're going to be dealing with this for at least another 10 years. What do you guys think?
That is that interesting. And people's point is like, well, that's a little weird, right? We know that they were all.
Wait, why did he show us that picture and not talk about it? Because that picture had Trump in there. This is the file. This is the file 468 that people zoomed in and saw a picture of Trump that they haven't seen before. Not that bigger picture with Trump, but that smaller one where the bottom part of Trump's body was cut with a scissor. And then the government put that in and then removed it. Like, that's the part that you should be focusing on. This picture, this small picture right here, this one right here.
Featured at all. The only pictures of Trump are some desk photos.
No, yeah, this is okay.
Trump
look at this.
Is barely featured at all. The only picture.
Look, okay, so there's two pictures. There's Trump here, but there's also Trump here, and this second picture hasn't been seen. And look, it's been cut with a scissor, which is so weird. Like, why did they do that? Why did they do that? And again, Coffee Zilla should mention that they tried to remove this file after accidentally releasing it.
Pictures of Trump are some desk photos. He's not even in the picture. It's just thin. There's basically nothing relating to Trump that is that interesting. And people's point is like, well, that's a little weird, right? We know that they were all kind of involved. We know Trump and Epstein were, heavily associated together. Not saying there's some smoking gun or anything like that. I don't have any special information on that. But we know there are going to be files related to this. Like, it's obvious. We already have leaked reporting that they had him in the files multiple times. So it's like, where are they? And that's going to leave a...
Yeah, right. Like, even if Trump didn't do anything, the fact that they were so close with each other, you would expect there to be files with Trump in them, even if Trump didn't do anything wrong. So the fact that you were not seeing files of Trump shows that they're actively removing files with Trump in them.
a lot of people unsatisfied because, of course, it's like, well, then the Epstein files really haven't been fully released yet. Now, there were some other interesting mentions. Michael Jackson made a cameo in some of these with Epstein and with Bill Clinton. I'd say the big...
No, that's it wrong. That CoffeeZilla, that's wrong. That's not an Epstein file image. That's a...
Jackson made a cameo in some of these with Epstein.
So, guys, this is a fake one. I mean, this is a real image, but it has nothing to do with the Epstein files. This was about a charity, and these children we already have pictures of them in the same place, unredacted. And this had nothing to do with the Epstein file, but the government took another picture that was not related to the Epstein files, redacted the pictures of the children who are already publicly available, and mixed it with the Epstein files and released it. I don't know why, just to make Bill Clinton look even worse, I think. I don't know.
And with Bill Clinton, I'd say the biggest finding, in my opinion, was this.
Yeah, Abdullah's saying, first time I'm seeing Coffee miss something. Well, he missed two things. First, regarding that picture with Trump that they removed before they adding it in. And second, with this image not being part of the Epstein files.
This document right here, which just corroborates something that has been alleged for a long time, which is that Maria Farmer, she warned the FBI about Jeffrey Epstein back in 1996, and they just basically didn't do anything with it. Now, the New York Times reported that the FBI has never publicly acknowledged her original report, even to Mrs. Farmer. So yeah, this lady, this victim, had been talking about how she had reported Epstein a long time ago to the feds, and the FBI had never confirmed that. But today we have this, which it says that the complainant stated that she's a professional artist and took pictures of her sisters, 12 and 16 years old, for her personal artwork. Epstein stole the photos and negatives and is believed to have sold the photos to potential buyers. Epstein at the time requested blank to take pictures of young girls at swimming pools. Epstein is now threatening blank that if she tells anyone about the photos, he will burn her house down. This was back in 1996. And apparently...
Whoa, wait, I haven't seen this one before. Hold on, one more time.
Girls at 16 years old go to the feds, and the FBI had never confirmed that. But today we have this, which it says that the complainant stated that she's a professional artist and took pictures of her sisters, 12 and 16 years old, for her personal artwork. Epstein stole the photos and negatives and is believed to have sold the photos to potential buyers. Epstein at the time requested blank to take pictures of young girls at swimming pools. Epstein is now threatening blank that if she tells anyone about the photos, he will burn her house down. This was back in 1996. And apparently nothing happened. I mean, obviously, Epstein would not get arrested for a long time later, and then he got that sweetheart deal. So this is both a vindication to one of the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, and it's an indictment of our law enforcement, because obviously they were tipped off on this way before. Actually, it's interesting. There's this complaint out there where allegedly Maria Farmer, while reporting this mid-sentence, the FBI hung up on her and did not make an attempt to follow up. It's just...
What? Why?
It's like
one
giant fumble after the next. So yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that got revealed. I want to say that some people had long not believed Mrs. Farmer, according to the New York Times. And so after the release of these files, the New York Times contacted Ms. Farmer about that report, and she broke down in tears about it because, of course, it had totally vindicated her. So those are probably the biggest findings, but there are some sick things we probably
You know, if you're a conspiracy theorist, there's a lot to work with here. Like, why wouldn't they, like, why? Like, people would assume, like, obviously they're protecting bigger powers than them. That must be the reason. Like, that's what a conspiracy theorist would say.
Should address, like, these were some notes that were taken about Jeffrey Epstein and some girls he was trying to procure. It says, quote, at one point blank witnessed him asking for ID to girl, wanted to make sure under 18 because he wasn't believing them because blank messed up by bringing him more older girls. Like, he was...
What? One more time?
And some girls he was trying to procure. Address, like, these were some notes that were taken about Jeffrey Epstein and some girls he was trying to procure. It says, quote, at one point blank witnessed him asking for ID to girl, wanted to make sure under 18 because he wasn't
Oh my God. Guys, people, when he was living he's living in opposite land. Usually, like, oh my God, are you actually over 18? Show me an ID. Like, did I just commit a crime? Show me an ID. That's what boys usually go through. But he was he's the other way around. He like, Wait, you're over 18? You're lying. You're like you're lying. You're not under 18? I want to make sure. Give me your ID so I can make sure you're under 18. What the fuck? Oh my god. You're too 18. Okay, granny. Okay, grandma. Ew. Ew, 18? You just turned 18? That's gross. Just like granny. I'm what the fuck? Too old. He was checking for IDs to make sure they are under 18. Man, this guy's standards. This guy's standards.
And some girls he was trying to procure. It says, quote, at one point, blank witnessed him asking for ID to girl, wanted to make sure under 18.
I mean, if you can't tell, does that matter? Like if somebody is like does it really matter? Oh my god.
Because he wasn't believing them because blank messed up by bringing him more older girls. Like he was asking.
Imagine looking at a like 19-year-old girl and thinking, ew, gross, that's too old. Like, oh my god.
For ID, at least according to this, in order to find out that they're young enough for him. I mean, it's actually like completely sick. And then this one also, it says that Jeffrey Epstein was apparently meeting with some young girl that someone else had procured for him, aka trafficked to him, and he was unhappy. He said, why bringing me dark girl? They responded, bringing young girl. Yeah, but not dark. Told her he just wasn't into her. Doesn't remember if he paid blank because he wasn't happy.
What? But not dark? He doesn't like
had
dark?
Procured for him, aka trafficked to him, and he was unhappy. He said, why bringing me dark girl? They responded, bringing young girl. Yeah, but not dark.
Oh, so he wants them young and not dark. By the way, guys, all the evidence I'm seeing is that he was just trafficking girls for himself. Like it's I don't know. I haven't yet seen. It just seemed that he had a very big network of people bringing him girls for him. I haven't seen anything else yet that shows that he was doing this for. I mean, even those 10 other people, maybe they were just working for him, just looking for girls for him. I mean, he was a rich guy. And everything that I'm saying is about his specific taste.
Told her he just wasn't into her. Doesn't remember if he paid blank because he wasn't happy. So like he was like, yeah, she's young enough, but she's not my type. And this kind of repeats the point. He told her that, quote, you know what I'm into. Blank understood that to mean, quote, young, petite, underage. Doesn't recall if brought anyone age 13. There definitely is that in these files if you want to look for it. I don't suggest you do. You'll want to take a bath afterward.
What are these pictures on the left here?
If you want to look for it.
What are these pictures? What the hell is this? Is this writing on someone's body?
I don't suggest you do. You'll want to take a bath afterwards. I mean, there's some weird like photo albums. Once upon a time, there's a clueless little girl. I mean, you know, it's really sick stuff.
Wait, what? Once upon a time, there was a clueless little girl. Okay, what the hell?
Once upon a time, there's a clueless little girl. I mean, you know, it's really sick stuff. I don't want to belabor the point. There's also this stuff from the House Oversight Committee. So just to be clear, while the government was like releasing their files, the House Oversight Committee, specifically the Democrats, released like a select number of photos as a kind of a teaser to this whole thing. Now, I haven't talked about this, but some of them are really weird. Like a girl has Lolita quotes written on her. If you don't know what Lolita is, God bless you. This person says, I will send you girls now. Maybe some will be good for Jay. She asks $1,000 per girl. Clearly trafficking. And so this is really gross stuff. The House Oversight Committee released some photos with all of the classics, Prince Andrew, Bill Gates, Donald Trump, Steve Bannon, Bill Clinton, you know, the gang, the whole gang, basically. But again, you know, I want to note that this is obviously not the DOJ release. So when you see like Trump in the files, well, these are sort of different files, just to be clear about that. There's also kind of a funny thing that happened where David Brooks, he's a reporter for the New York Times. He wrote, the Epstein story, count me out. only to be found, I guess, having a dinner with some people, and Jeffrey Epstein was there. So, maybe it's coincidental that he said, count me out of the Epstein story, but maybe not. Now, I want to be clear, the New York Times ultimately defended him, and I think he made a statement and a spokesperson made a statement that basically he had no contact with Jeffrey Epstein. Basically, all these people issued similar statements like, I didn't know him, or I didn't know what he was up to, or, you know the thing by now. I guess I don't have to put those caveats in.
I mean, we don't, you can't accuse them of child abuse just because they were having dinner with the guy.
All these people deny it. all these people.
I mean, but what is Coffeezilla suggesting? Is he suggesting that they're guilty? What is the accusation here? Anybody that Epstein met with is a child abuser? Like, if you have a picture with Epstein, that means you abuse children? That doesn't make any sense.
Thing by now. I guess I don't have to put those caveats in. All these people deny it. All these people.
I mean, they should deny it. They had a dinner with him. That doesn't mean they abuse children.
Say, I had nothing to do with it. I had nothing. And to be fair, probably some of them did have nothing to do with it.
Most of them probably did have nothing to do with it. Like, Epstein have met like thousands of people. I'm pretty sure most of them are not child abusers.
I just don't believe none of them had anything to do with it. That's kind of the problem of these files. It's like, okay, all these guys are hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. They're all around him, and he's around young girls. A lot of times they are around him, around young girls. But of course, none of them had anything to do with it. Like, that's basically the state of the affairs. And right now, we're just getting sort of another partial look. Like, are we getting Epstein Transparency Day, or are we getting like the special redaction project? It feels more like the latter, honestly. And I don't have high hopes for even the stuff they release after this. I know they're saying they're going to do a rolling production or whatever. But given how much they've already redacted with very little clear explanations as to why, I just don't think we're going to get much. And even if we do, it's going to be hard to trust it. I mean, that's part of what makes this so challenging. The government has given you no reason to trust them on this issue on both sides, frankly, to be fair, but especially this administration, which ran on releasing the files. But literally since 1996, we have been failing victims. We have been failing the public in protecting them, and we've been failing to disclose what we really know. And this seems like more of that. Sadly, a lot of us thought that this was going to be the end of it. This was going to be the grand day that, ended it all. But it seems like that's not going to happen for a long time. So I'll continue to keep you updated. But yeah.
Right, guys, come in our discussion group. I'm going to go into our discussion group and come there, and we'll talk about this and other things that are on the news right now. Again, I will link to our discussion group in the chat. So in about 30 minutes, we're gonna have, just when you go to the discussion group and you join there, it's free. Just check the calendar section and we have our events there. So we're gonna have a live call pretty soon. We have one every day. Once every 2 days, it's open to anybody who joins the group. So come join our discussion group, and hopefully I see you guys there, and we could talk about this and other topics over there. Okay, so I'm just going to end this right now. Let me know if you want me to continue covering this in future streams. And yeah, just make sure, by the way, guys, our discussion group is becoming a main hub of anything politics related in the West, in the Middle East, in Australia, so it's a really good place to discuss all of these topics and other topics, right? So come there. It's a really good, we're growing there, and we have we're raising an army, by the way, there. So come, it's our war room, right? So I'll just put the link to our discussion group one more time, and the link is also in the description. Thank you for being here, guys. I'm gonna go get ready for a call there, and I'll see you guys there, and I'll see you guys on a future live stream here, probably same time tomorrow. Okay, see you guys then. Okay, I'm Israel Chai, Javid Shah.